Hello and welcome back. In this Black Excellist presentation, we will highlight the 1619 Project.
Welcome to blackexcellist.com, the site where we share Black excellence, opulence, and affluence. Our mission is to inspire you as we enlighten you.
The 1619 Project is a special initiative of the New York Magazine, launched in 2019 to mark the completion of 400 years since the first enslaved Africans arrived in colonial Virginia's Jamestown in August 1619. The edition consists of 30 written and visual pieces by journalists, historians, poets, playwrights, authors, and artists, examining how social structures that developed in the U.S. as a consequence of slavery affect present-day laws, policies, systems, and culture, and the contributions of Black people in America's nation building. It is a brainchild of Nikole Hannah-Jones, a MacArthur Grant-winning journalist with the New York Magazine, who was awarded a Pulitzer Prize for commentary in 2020 for her work on the edition. So without further ado, let's get started. Nikole Hannah-Jones wants to help set the record straight, and more importantly, she wants to tell the truth of who we are as people and who we are as a nation. 1619 is not a year that most Americans know as a notable date in our country's history. It was on August 25, 1619, that a Portuguese slave ship landed at Point Comfort in the British colony of Virginia, present-day Fort Monroe in Hampton, Virginia. It carried between 20 and 30 enslaved Africans who were sold to colonists. Their descendants would become known as the first African Americans. Their arrival inaugurated a barbaric system of chattel slavery that would last for the next 250 years. From this moment forward, this country has been inextricably attached to slavery. It is a historic moment that typically passes without acknowledgement, celebration, or observing. The 1619 Project is meant to underscore and shed new light on the purpose of the African American as the solution for America, not its problem. But let's dig into it a little. Out of slavery and the anti-Black racism that is woven in the fabric of this nation grew nearly everything that we know and understand about America. The capitalism that grew its economic power, its industrial power, its electoral system, its pop culture, and its music. On the opposite end of the spectrum are the inequities of its public health and education system, its police brutality, its gun violence, its wealth inequality, its broken justice system, its dysfunctional legal system, and its corrupt political system. Their landing would be the gateway to the derivatives of these aforementioned injustices, which included 246 years of bondage, 100 years of Jim Crow, denial of civil rights, unfair housing, redlining, unfair employment practices, police profiling, and unfair incarceration policies. All of the foundations and institutions of this country were birthed out of the brutality, greed, and racial fears that were planted long before our official Independence Day in 1776. Although critics have tried to change the narrative to assert that the project was meant to establish 1619 as the true year of our nation's birth, its sole purpose is for Americans to reimagine the start of our American history. The project hopes to reshape an education system as one that places consequences of slavery and the contributions of Black people at the very center. Only then can we tell the true story about who we are as a country. In the American conversation, slavery is talked about in the past tense. It is thought of, written about, and portrayed in movies as a short period in the long, extended timeline of United States history. Sometimes simply regarded as an unfortunate atrocity that happened so long ago that no one alive today can be blamed for it. But violent chattel slavery and the systems of segregation is deeply ingrained in the fabric of this nation. American capitalism operated on the back of slavery, and it was deeply rooted in the working model of every American institution, from businesses to politics, healthcare to housing infrastructure. Without the knowledge of its origin and how it came about, disrespects the context of all of the African American struggles of today. History books and American records do not accurately or adequately reflect the magnitude of slavery's awful influence of hate and its legacy of deceit by design. Behind this project is brainchild and investigative journalist Nikole Hannah-Jones. Hannah-Jones is a staff writer for the New York Times Magazine, who in 2019 created and directed this project. Her ultimate goal for the 100-page journalistic endeavor is for it to help the passage of slavery reparations legislation. Her professional affiliations and funding have been tied to numerous donors and organizations, including the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, New America, the Russell Sage Foundation, and the Democracy Fund. Born in 1976, Hannah-Jones grew up in Waterloo, Iowa, on what she has described as the wrong side of the river that divided white from black, opportunity from struggle. Hannah-Jones's father is African American, and her mother is Caucasian. Hannah-Jones came from an extended family in Waterloo that she has described as mostly manual laborers, with her mother, who's white, working as a probation officer, and her father, who's African American, worked as a bus driver. She began her education in a low-income school that can be described as distressingly chaotic. But in 1982, when Hannah-Jones was in second grade, her parents enrolled her and her older sister in one of the city's wealthiest and predominantly white schools, thinking it would provide the best opportunities for us. She has written that the new school provided her an academically stimulating environment with rigorous classes and quality instruction. Hannah-Jones attended the University of Notre Dame and earned undergraduate degrees in history and African American studies. She also attended University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and earned a master's degree in journalism. She now lives in Brooklyn, New York with her husband, Faraji Hannah-Jones, and their daughter. But the 1619 Project was almost certain to stir up controversy in mainstream media, the education system, and society as a whole. Many of the nation's most prominent historians have criticized Hannah-Jones for including what they call a ludicrous assertion that slavery was the motivation for the American Revolution, a ridiculous characterization of Abraham Lincoln as a racist, and for using a 1619 date that they believed is decades earlier than other historical accounts of the start of slavery. In May of 2021, Hannah-Jones was not offered tenure by UNC Chapel Hill that was part of her 5-year contract with the prestigious Knight Chair in Race and Investigative Journalism. A trustee who vets submissions for tenure postponed consideration of Hannah-Jones's application for what they said were questions about her non-academic background. There have been Knight Chairs in the past who have been granted tenure without a doctorate degree. So what's the real reason behind Hannah-Jones's denial? Turns out that the controversy is wrapped around questions of systemic racism and cancel culture. Hannah-Jones has been widely supported at UNC and across academia since the news went public. But long before the debate entered the public arena, opposition to her appointment had been quietly growing, led in part by Walter Hussman, a newspaper publisher and multi-million-dollar mega donor, for whom the Chapel Hill School of Media and Journalism is now named after. Hussman had doubts about whether having her on the faculty would distract from teaching the school's core values, but basically he objects to the principles of the 1619 Project. While some historians have criticized Hannah-Jones's work, other historians have supported it, so much so that the Society of American Historians inducted Hannah-Jones as a fellow following the project's publication by the New York Times. We believe that the controversy will be resolved, and Hannah-Jones will receive the tenure that she very much deserves. If not, she has promised to file a lawsuit in federal court for racial discrimination in hiring. You go, girl. In closing, as the creator and project director of the New York Times Magazine's 1619 Project, we want to thank Hannah-Jones for this beautiful, artistic, and journalistic endeavor. We hope that we start to see the fruits of her work in the form of a new education system, reparations, and acknowledgement that the central event in the founding of the United States was the first importation of enslaved Africans to Virginia in 1619, and not the Declaration of Independence in 1776. We also believe that modern America is best understood once we appreciate and celebrate the fact that this country stands on the shoulders of the institution of slavery.
We appreciate the fact that you stayed with us until the end. Thank you for spending time with us, and don't forget to like this video. Also, make sure you subscribe so that you never miss a video. Bye for now. We will see you tomorrow.